Welcome to The Other Side of the Page, a bookish podcast where we yap about the books we love
and the songs that give us main character energy.
We're here to sift through the chaos that is our TBR.
And to let you know why a book might just be your next favorite read.
I'm Britt, dramatic plot twist lover and champion for MMCs needing to be more pathetic and down bad.
And I'm Hannah, reader of at least 5 books at once and a detailed fantasy map enthusiast.
Every Wednesday, press play on a brand new bookish episode.
Stay up to date with the books we will be covering by following us on social media at othersideofthepagepod over on TikTok, Instagram, and Threads.
Yes, and don't forget to follow, rate, and review the podcast and give us a shining 5 stars on your preferred platform because it helps us so much with visibility.
This week, we are chatting about Isn't It Obvious by Rachel Runya Katz.
Yes, we'll be talking about our song choices alongside the plot and chatting about our favorite moments, so grab an iced coffee
or iced chai
and let's turn the page together.
Yes. Dear reader, here's a quick synopsis of Isn't It Obvious? When high school librarian Yael's secret podcast starts to take off, she decides to hire Kevin, a remote freelance editor-producer, so she can manage juggling her mental health, day job, and the queer teen book club she's been hosting at school after hours. To maintain her anonymity, it just makes me think of like anemone. Yeah, from Nemo.
Yep.
They communicate strictly via email, and Kevin only knows her by her podcast persona, Elle. Little does Yael know that Kevin, who in real life goes by his middle name, Ravi, is the same man she tore apart for climbing out of her bedroom window after one night stand with her roommate, Charlie. And she certainly never expects him to show up to volunteer at her book club. In person, Yael and Ravi clash as their sparks turn into something more. Over email, Elle and Kevin start to fall hard when they decide to keep things strictly professional. But when Ravi discovers the truth, will keeping it a secret mean the end of everything he's built with Yael/Elle? And what happens when she finds out? Will they fall twice as hard or cut ties in more than one? We think you should read this book if you want a sharp, funny romance with 2 people finally taking a chance on love.
Yes, and you might want to avoid this book if any of the following are potentially triggering for you: sexual content, mental illness, abandonment, biphobia, homophobia, emotional abuse, toxic relationships, panic attack disorders, and use of alcohol. But as always, check your triggers because you know yourself best.
I hate that those are triggers, but anyway.
I know. You know, the book is still a romance. It's still a romance. It's still, but it is prevalent and needs to be discussed. It's prevalent and needs to be discussed.
So for our song choices,
yes,
I chose Begin Again by Taylor Swift.
And I picked Late Night Talking by Harry Styles.
Both such good songs.
Such good songs. So now we're moving into our Pages Turned and Bridges Burned section. We will be talking about Isn't It Obvious cover to cover. So if you have not read the book, please pause the podcast and come back if you don't want spoilers. If you've read it or you're just here for the vibes, welcome on in. So we're going to get started with our theme lyric. So Hannah, what lyric did you bring from Begin Again to start us off?
Yes. So the lyric that stuck out to me was, thinking all love ever does is break and burn and end. But on a Wednesday in a cafe, I watched it begin again. And I think a lot of the time, Yael spends Yael spends a lot of her time not believing in love. And same with like Ravi doesn't believe that like he can really like have it at the moment. And I feel like it just like there's that moment for them that like ignites the spark, and it just kind of they watch it begin again. Like they believe in love again because of each other.
Yeah, I love that. My theme lyric is, we've been doing all this late night talking about anything you want until the morning. Now you're in my life. I can't get you off my mind. And I just leaned into this because I love that they were texting in a like quote unquote professional capacity, and then it leaned unprofessional in the capacity. And both of them just like couldn't stop thinking about the other one. And they were doing a lot of late night talking.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was the perfect theme lyric to encapsulate them.
Yes. All right, let's talk about our main characters.
Yep.
So we have Yael and Ravi. Yael is a high school librarian who also has a podcast where she chats about books that like the high school covers. And I thought it was like a very like fun way to talk about books. And she kind of has her own persona online, and it kind of took off with her dissecting like 1984, Fahrenheit 451, I think she does, all those ones.
Yep, absolutely.
And then we have Ravi.
Go ahead. Yep.
/ Kevin. And he like moves in with his brother and his niece to like help take care of his niece. And he is just kind of living life. He gets this job as like this editor, and then he's like, I need to do something more with my life, and decides to volunteer with this queer book club as well. We have another meat disaster. So I don't know. I guess it's a meat disaster. It's whatever.
It's definitely a meat disaster.
But like Ravi and Yao meet because Ravi is like sneaking out of her apartment because he just hooked up with her roommate. And
Yeah.
Yao is just like, what is this man doing? But she's like on meds and is like chilled out and just like, whatever.
And by sneaking out of her apartment, we mean sneaking out of her bedroom window. So talk about an actual meat disaster.
Yeah. And so as like Ravi is like leaving or whatever, he finds the queer book club like flyer and is like, sure, gives me something to do.
Mm-hmm.
And like we said, Yael's podcast is taking off. So she's like, I need an editor. Maybe that's how you'll fall in love, Britt. We'll hire an editor. And
maybe that'll work. Okay, but
like
here's
foreshadowing.
The thing. Maybe this is. We're just manifesting something. But like, so she goes by Elle. So the podcast isn't linked to her day job. There's no like face on socials. Are Hannah and Britt even our real names? The world may never know, except everyone knows. But okay, the one thing that I did want to point out, because I do fear that we are qualified to talk about this. The only thing that I found hard to believe just from what we do was that like neither of them ended up recognizing the other's voice.
Yeah. I mean, I just think like I read this one and then the one I just read too. It just like proves to me that like men are stupid.
That's so true.
I just think we like get spoiled because we have all these like men written by women and they're like these great, like we just talked about female fantasy not that long ago, right? Like
yeah,
all these men, and I just feel like sometimes when it's like a realistic man like this, like not to generalize all men, but I'm generalizing all men, that I think like sometimes like we forget that they are kind of not perceptive. And so like they can kind of separate it, and she might have like more of like a customer service voice on like there,
which
totally I mean, I agree with you, right? But like,
yeah,
it's just like funny. Like, I think after reading the other one I just read, I'm like, okay, they're kind of writing them very, very realistic men.
Yeah, because I was just like, would I be able to like pick out your voice in a lineup? Like that's what I was wondering, because if I was just listening to voices back to back, and because we've been doing this for so long now, I think it would be unmistakable for me for like a certain cadence and rhythm and stuff.
Yeah, I feel like just like out of context, he's like oblivious.
Yeah, which genuinely makes sense, but I feel like in this moment we would be remiss if we didn't mention that like that felt like a little weird. But I do believe in that when you mention the why behind it. That actually makes a lot of sense. Anyway, but Ravi shows up to the book club and Yael's like, hell no. But I do need someone, so I guess you can stay.
Yep. And I thought the book club was cool. They cover queer books and
yes,
they just kind of like argue like what to read. Like, is it, it's a high school, right? So it can't be like too erotic, too scary. And they all have their opinions on like what they should read. And yeah, I thought that was like a fun little.
Yeah, like Chuck Tingle. Is that who they?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I want to read his Lucky Day one that just came out. It sounds really good.
Yes, I still want to read Bury Your Gaze too.
But Kevin is a great editor and helps Elle to push the podcast like even further. And they have some really good chats that like are professional, but also like they get to know each other like on a deeper level. And one of my lyrics is like, but you throw your head back laughing like little kid. And I think it's strange that you think I'm funny because he never did. And I think that kind of parallels where like they get to know each other and Yael is like, oh, it's a hard time for me to like open up and have friends. Like she doesn't really even have friends at work and everything. Like she has a roommate, but like Kevin is listening to her and wants to get to know her. And even like as her relationship with like Ravi continues too, it's like, okay, like she feels seen with that.
Mm-hmm.
And we also learned that like Ravi moved from New York City to Portland to help his brother take care of Mia, his niece. And like Ravi is like focused on his family and doesn't want to take much on outside of that because he thinks that his brother needs him 100% and needs like Mia 100% with that.
Yep. And while that's happening, Yael gets an email from Renegade, which is like basically like a hosting hub platform, where they want to talk to her about joining the platform, and they would take, some of the promotion off her hands and all that fun stuff. And just a lot of opportunities start opening up for her as the podcast starts to kind of blow up. And then as far as rom-coms go, there are a lot of little blunders throughout. And Hannah has one here that was also my favorite.
Yeah, I think so. Since they are like run this book club, they're also like in charge of like a safe ride. So if any of the kids like need them, they're there. And like
Yeah.
Yael and Robbie both get called to be like a safe ride for this student.
Yeah.
And the student's like so drunk, and like Robbie like took like a Uber there because he doesn't like have a car.
Yeah.
And so Yael shows up with her car and she's like, I don't know, just hop in, whatever. And like Ravi ends up getting like puked on, so he has to borrow like Yael's car pants that she just has car pants, which I feel that because you gotta have the car pants. And then like she borrows his jacket, and it's just like a cute little moment. And it also shows that like the students are like rooting for them too. Like the students are like, oh,
Yes.
what's going on with you guys? And they're like, what?
Yeah. And then what's so funny is that like while Elle and Kevin were falling for each other, Elle and Robbie were falling for each other, but then they both felt guilt because they like had other feelings for someone else, but the someone else was the other person. So they want to be respectful of each other, but then they end up breaking off their out of work chat to focus on the other person in real life, LOL, which actually leads to one of my lyrics because I have things haven't been quite the same. There's a haze on the horizon, babe. It's only been a couple of days and I miss you, which is really funny because it actually hasn't been a couple of days because they still interact with each other and they just don't know it.
Yep. And then they spend the night together, and they have like, a moment where they kind of open up, and we find out kind of about like their previous relationships. And because it did start out with like Ravi like hooking up with her roommate, and she was like nervous, like to even like tell Charlie like, hey, and Charlie was like, oh, I'm over him, like it's whatever. And like about Yael's past, and like her past girlfriend like didn't want to deal with like her mental health issues and all of that stuff. And Ravi's like, I got you, like don't worry about that at all. But then so they have this beautiful night together. They finally like give into their feelings. Then they have a meeting with Renegade, and Yael is on the way, and she gets a call from like her like producer or somebody, right? Somebody that she works with, and is like, oh yeah, your editor is going to be there. And then she sees who the editor is through the window, and it is Ravi.
Yep.
And I mean, like, we know, but
yeah, we know, you know, they don't know. Now Yael is pissed because she's like, oh, this motherfucker knew, but he just found out. Like he did not put the pieces together until it was like almost that moment that she realized that it was him. So like, but she thought that he was doing the book club under her nose and doing all of this in like a really shady sort of way, and like a back end, like, let me get to know her without like saying that it's me sort of situation. They have a cordial lunch, and Yael is like, did you know before we hooked up? And Ravi is like, no, I didn't. And then they have a conversation.
And long story short, too, something we didn't mention is like, like Ravi's brother like had kind of like a nasty breakup, divorce or whatever. I forget if they were actually married, with like Mia's baby mama. And then they like go to see her, and then they come back, and like, the brother is like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened, whatever. But he also like has a conversation with his brother that is like, you need to live your life. Like like Ravi's brother, and like, we'll be okay. Like, we need you to be like you, and you to have like your own thing, because Ravi didn't want to get into a relationship because he didn't want to like take any time away from his family, because his family is very important to him with that piece. And
there was also like a cultural piece to like how they view family and stepping up, and like there's a lot of nuance to the situation. And obviously we're just like, you know, running through the plot and like the high level romance of it all, but this was a very like very thoughtful, very nuanced story about sacrifice for family and for yourself, love, you know, finding yourself. I really liked the portrayal of like the queer relationships, and just like how they took care of each other within the book club, I thought was just really lovely throughout. So
Mm-hmm.
while we are hitting just like the romance beats, just know that this book does have like a lot of depth and heart to it outside of what the romance itself, brought to the table.
Yeah. And so they end up like having a conversation and deciding that they like are ready to pursue a relationship, and they have a happy ending. And
Yep.
just so happy for them. And I know this is like a short and sweet episode, but like you just said, I feel like the book hits on some like pretty big themes
Yeah.
throughout, but overall it's two people just learning to love again after their late night talking, and they just begin again and
Yep.
find their happily ever after.
I love it. And I just have to...
Who would have thought?
Podcasting. Listen, if we become big enough that we need to hire an editor, like, hi.
Hi,
my name is Brittany. My name's Brittany. I'm trying to become an author. I like to write rom-coms too. I'm a certified fangirl. I like competition reality TV. I can cook. I hate cleaning though.
Long walks on the beach,
not long walks because I get it gets hot and there's a lot of sand. We can do short walks on the beach, and it's a great time. Guys, if you've made it this far in the episode, just know that this is the third episode in a row that Hannah and I have recorded, and I think that our brains are officially at max capacity. I think we've hit our limit.
But any other lyrics or anything you want to highlight with this one?
The late night talking is, if you're feeling down, I just want to make you happier, baby, which I wish I was around. I just want to make you happier. And I think that applies to their, editor podcaster relationship, where basically he's just like, oh, I wish I was there to like comfort you and help you through this. And she was like, oh, I wish you were here to comfort me and help me through this. And like they were the whole time.
Yes, right? Like they were there.
Yep. Anything else for you?
Oh, just like one little lyric was like, turn the lock and put my headphones on. And just because they like wear their headphones on. Just kind of like tongue in cheek there.
I love it.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Perfect.
Oh, I guess like the end too, like the lyric is like, and I want to talk about that. And for the first time, what's past is past. So, like they can kind of like move forward with it.
Yeah.
But
I love that.
Yeah. Cute little book.
Yeah.
We've been sitting on this for a while because we got the arc of it forever ago.
Yes.
And also did the audiobook. So it was a lot of fun to finally talk about this one.
Yes.
So thank you so much for turning the pages with us this week. Be sure to follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Patreon, and join our newsletter to keep up with everything on the other side of the page.
Yes, and please drop a review and a 5-star rating of the podcast on your preferred platform and share it with your bookish besties.
Yes, and next week we are rounding out our lovely February month with a thriller, How to Kill a Guy in 10 Dates by Shaylee Thompson.
This one looks like it's to die for. Ha 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 ha. So we will see you on February 25th and forever and always.
Keep reading with kindness.
Bye, everyone.
Peace out.